Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So we are back to Srimad Bhagavatam. So in the brief time that we had gone off, we have finished the Bhagavad Gita once. So that in the numbering, like no, we had taken 99 days, for finishing the Bhagavad Gita, and here we are in the ninth chapter of the third canto, and this is the chapter is named as the Brahma's prayers for creative energy, and we were seeing that how Lord after the creation, Lord Brahma was seeing that the living entities are immediately engaged in sense gratification, and the purpose of creation is to be engaged in the devotional service of the Lord and to get liberation. So, but then the moment the creation is done, everybody is immediately started to get engaged in the sense gratificatory activities. So he is feeling, very bad about it, and then he likes all the living entities because he is creating the living entities. So he's also having that kind of a feeling, affectionate feeling, and he's praying to the Lord for the welfare of all these living entities, right? Okay, so in that it is there, and in that specifically, uh, like after hearing the prayers of the Brahma, the Supreme Lord is speaking, right? So let's see. This is all. This is what we are seeing now. Is a portion of the Supreme Lord speaking. यच्चक्रताङ्ग मत् श्रोत्रं स्तोत्रं मत्कथाभ्युदयाकितं यद्वा तपसि ते निष्ठा स एष मत् अनुरागः अनुग्रहः. Okay, so here we see, O Brahma, the prayers that you have chanted praising the glories of my transcendental activities, the penance you have undertaken to understand me, and the firm faith in me, all these are to be considered my causeless mercy. Okay, purport. When a living entity desires to serve the Lord in the transcendental loving service, the Lord helps the devotee in so many ways as the Chaitya Guru or the spiritual master within, and thus the devotee can perform many wonderful activities beyond the material estimation. By the mercy of the Lord, even a layman can compose prayers of the highest spiritual perfection. Such spiritual perfection is not limited by material qualifications, but is developed by dint of one's sincere endeavor to render transcendental service. Voluntary endeavor is the only qualification for spiritual perfection. Material acquisitions of wealth or education are not considered. So, here in the shloka, one important thing that the Lord is mentioning is that, the prayers that you have chanted, praising the glories, praising the Lord's glories. No, the Lord is telling that the prayers that Brahmaji had chanted, praising the Lord's glories, and then the penances that he has undertaken, and then the firm faith that he had in the Lord, all these are causeless mercy of the Lord. So that means if we are able to offer some nice prayers, so the intelligence to offer that prayers is coming from the Lord. So we have the desire to offer the prayers, and the intelligence to offer the prayers is given by the Lord. So then it should be considered a mercy of the Lord. So without the mercy of the Lord, we cannot offer nice prayers. And penances, sometimes people say, oh, like, no, how can I do all this difficult uh, like penances and austerities? So what is that we have to do? We just need to have the desire to do such a penance, and the Lord will give the necessary qualification or necessary strength to do that penance. And then the faith. So if somebody is having very strong faith on the Lord, then we should understand Lord's mercy is there upon them. Otherwise they will not be able to have strong faith, right? So these are all some of the nice things that we can see in the in this particular shloka, right? And let's see the next sloka, text 39. Pritoham astu badram te lokanam vijayechaya yat astu shir astau shir gunamayam nirgunam manu varnayan. I am very much pleased by your descriptions of me in terms of my transcendental qualities, which appear mundane to the mundaners. I grant you all benedictions in your desire to glorify all the planets by your activities. Purport. A pure devotee of the Lord like Brahma and those in his line of disciplic succession always desire that the Lord be known all over the universe by each and every one of the living entities. So here we see that one nice thing that we can see is that the Lord is very much pleased. So it is mentioned that by any means, if we actually can manage to please the Lord, so then that is the ultimate thing, because if the Lord is pleased, he can give anything and everything. No, there is nothing impossible for a person who has pleased the Lord. So now, what is it that it has made him pleased? No, like Lord Brahma's prayers, and we have the same prayers also in the Bhagavatam, recorded for us. We have so many wonderful prayers by many great devotees. By repeating these prayers, we can actually attract the Lord. We can the Lord will become pleased, and there is nothing impossible in this world if we please the Lord. So, okay. So here we see that a pure devotee of the Lord like Brahma and those in the disciplic succession always desire that the Lord be known all over the universe. So this here also is mentioned, the desire to glorify all the planets by our activities. So what is it? No, in the beginning itself, anyway, if you had remembered the first 2 3 shlokas of this chapter only, it was mentioned, Brahma was mentioning that, no, I have just created this planet so that people can render devotional service unto you, my Lord. But then the moment I've created, everybody have started engaged, started to engage in sense gratification. Right? So that is the lamentation that Brahma actually submits. And that's what Prabhupada is mentioning here. So all pure devotees, they like the Lord be glorified, throughout the universe. That's the this one desire of all the pure devotees. Okay, so that desire of the devotee is always blessed by the Lord. The impersonalists sometimes pray for the mercy of the personality of God at Narayana as the embodiment of material goodness, but such prayers do not satisfy the Lord because he is not thereby glorified in terms of his actual transcendental qualities. So the impersonalist, no, they also worship no different demigods, and they worship Vishnu also as an embodiment of material mode of goodness. So we have, right, so Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara. So Brahmaji is like in charge of mode of passion, and Vishnu is in charge of mode of goodness, and then Lord Shiva is in charge of mode of ignorance. So when we approach Vishnu as an official master of the mode of goodness, and in that capacity if we approach him, so then like we are approaching the Lord in the context of a demigod. So then the transaction that we are doing with the Lord in that way, it is not going to be very pleasing to the Lord. So the Lord will not be so pleased with that kind of a transaction. The Lord will be pleased when we approach him as a devotee of the Lord. So then we can actually glorify the Lord in his actual, of his actual transcendental qualities. So then, the Lord will be pleased, very much. Okay, the pure devotee of the Lord are always most dear to him, although he is always kind and merciful to all living entities. Here, the word Gunamayam is significant because it indicates the Lord's possessing transcendental qualities. Okay, Lord is full of all different qualities. Text 40. Ya ethena puman nityam stutva stotrena mam bhajet tasyashu sampra sideyam sarva kama vareshwaraha. Any human being who prays like Brahma and who thus worships me shall very soon be blessed with the fulfillment of all his desires, for I am the Lord of all benedictions. Varaishwaraha, no, he mentions. And we have in the South India, we have this temple of Varadaraj. No, Varaishwara or Varadaraj, no, both are of the same meaning. The Lord of all benedictions, right? So he's the best of the givers of the Vara, no, benedictions. So here he see the Lord is saying the secret of pleasing the Lord, no, like secret of achieving anything in this world is in this world or the spiritual perfections is to please the Lord. And how to please the Lord? So one of the aspects is mentioned here, that is, no, praying like Brahma and worshipping him in that particular way. So Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, like all these different now with the bhakti is there, and so in that Vandanam is also one of the aspects, one of the limbs of nine of the now with the bhakti. So that Vandanam means prayers, offering prayers to the Lord. And the Lord is mentioning that no one who can pray like Lord Brahma, no, offer such prayers. So then, no, the Lord will be very, very pleased, and he's mentioning that there is all their desires will be fulfilled, right? So very soon be blessed with fulfillment of all his desires, for I am the Lord of all benedictions, right? Let's see the purport. The prayers offered by Brahma cannot be chanted by anyone who desires to fulfill his own sense gratification. Such prayers can be selected only by a person who wants to satisfy the Lord in his service. The Lord certainly fulfills all desires in regard to transcendental loving service, but he cannot fulfill the whims of non devotees, even when such casual devotees offer him the best of prayers. So, this is no, uh, like if I have an attitude of not, if I don't have the attitude of pleasing the Supreme Lord, I just simply take these wonderful prayers and offer it to him, the Lord will not be pleased. So, the words that are glorifying the Lord is very important in the prayers. And then the prayer should be composed with an intention to please the Lord. And the prayer should be chanted also with an intention to please the Lord. So then, if the Lord is pleased, so then anything and everything is achievable, right? So that is the primary point here. Okay, text 41. Putrena tapasa yajnair, sorry, purtena tapasa yajnair, daner yoga samadhina, raddam hirshreya pumsam matpritis tattva vinmatam. It is the opinion of expert transcendentalists that the ultimate goal of performing all traditional good works, penance, sacrifice, charity, mystic activities, trances, etc., is to invoke my satisfaction. So this is a very nice sloka. So which talks about what is the purpose of performing all this pious works, good works, penance, sacrifice, charity, mystic austerities, and things like that. So all the goal of all these practices is to please the Supreme Lord. Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. No, Atapumbad Vidasheshta Varanashrama Vibhagasha Swanishritusha Dharmasya Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. Right. So like the purpose of performing the religious activities is for the pleasure of the Lord, to invoke the satisfaction of the Lord. So we see that generally people do religious activity for getting some better position, better situation, and things like that. So, but then we see that no devotional service which is performed for the pleasure of the Lord, no, that is proper actually. No, all the different activities has to be meant for pleasure of the Supreme Lord. In fact, this is also the mentioned Varanashrama Vibhagasha, like what is it? No, Varnashramaccharavata Pumsam Purushena Parapuman Vishnu Aradyate Panta Na Anyat Tattosha Karanat. So it is mentioned that Varna Ashrama, so it is there. And what is the purpose of this Varna Ashrama? It has to be followed by the human being, no? And it is for the purpose of Vishnur Aradhyate Panta. No, it is for the purpose of worshipping Vishnu. And then Na Anyat. There is no other purpose other than that. No Tat Tosha Karanat. No other purpose other than Tat means to that person. So already it has been established as Vishnu Aradhyate Panta. So Tat Tosha Karanat. No, for the pleasure of no Vishnu. No, that is the primary purpose of executing all the different duties of Varna and Ashrama, all the penances and all the austerities. Everything should be performed for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. Okay, let's see the purport. There are many traditional pious activities in human society, such as altruism, philanthropy, nationalism, internationalism, sacrifice, charity, sacrifice, penance, and even meditation in trance. And all of them can be fully beneficial only when they lead to the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
मैडम बोले फिर आप देखते हैं ना, यहाँ तो पता ही नहीं चलता कुछ.
Okay. So, yeah, so this is the prime purpose is for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. So there are many traditional pious activities in human society such as altruism, philanthropy, nationalism, internationalism, charity, sacrifice, penance, and even meditation in trance, and all of them can be fully beneficial only when they lead to the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The perfection of any activity that is social, political, religious, or philanthropic is to satisfy the Supreme Lord. This secret of success is known to the devotee of the Lord as exemplified by Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. As a good non-violent man, Arjuna did not want to fight with his kinsmen, but when he understood that Krishna wanted the fight, and he arranged it at Kurukshetra, he gave up his own satisfaction and fought for the satisfaction of the Lord. That is the right decision for all intelligent men. One's only concern should be to satisfy the Lord by one's activities. If the Lord is satisfied by an action, whatever it may be, then it is successful. So this is the main point. No, Prabhupada is mentioning the secret of success is known as like this thing like for working for the pleasure of the Lord. One's only concern should be to satisfy the Lord by one's activities, right? And then if the Lord is satisfied by any action, whatever it may be, then it is successful. No, this is the main, no, very, very important point. Otherwise, it is simply a waste of time. Hmm. That is the standard of all sacrifice, penance, austerity, mystic trance, and other good and pious work. Okay. Text 42. Aham atmatmanam data preshta preshtah san preyasamapi ato mayi ratim kuryat dehadir krite priyah. I am the soul of every individual. I am the supreme director and the dearest. People are wrongly attached to the gross and subtle bodies, but they should be attached to me only. So here we see that the Lord is very specifically mentioning that everyone should be attached to the Lord only. Purport: the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, is the dearest in both the conditioned and liberated states. So, no, the Lord is the dearest personality for us, no, whether we are in the conditioned state or liberated state. When a person does not know that the Lord is the only dearmost object, then he is in the conditioned state of life. And when one knows perfectly well that the Lord is the only dearmost object, he is considered to be liberated. So this is another definition of liberation and bondage. So when we understand that the Lord is the most lovable, most dearmost object of us, so then we become like liberated. Otherwise, we are actually bound in the material world. There are degrees of knowing one's relationship with the Lord, depending on the degree of realization as to why the Supreme Lord is the dearmost object of every living being. So here, many times people say that, oh, the Lord is very merciful, Lord is very nice. So, but here Prabhupada is mentioning that we need to also have realization as to why the Supreme Lord is the dearmost object of every living being, right? So this why aspect, how much clear I am, how much strong reasons I have to say that the Lord is the dearmost object of me. So that much strong is our this one. No, that much strong will be our spiritual realization. That much we will be liberated, from the bondage of material nature. Okay, so the real reason is clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita, Mamai Vamsha Jiva Loke Jiva Bhutaha Sanatanaha. So, like the Lord is telling, Mama Eva Amsha. No, like we are just the Lord's own part and parcel. No, Lord's own particle we are, right? So, in that way, like we see that the Lord is why the Lord is dearmost object, because we are part and parcel of the Lord. So we know the Lord becomes a dearmost object. For example, our eyes and our bodily parts, they are dearmost object of our body. Anything happens to our body, we immediately run to the hospital, we immediately try to get it fixed and things like that. So in the same way, we see that no, we are part and parcel of the Lord. So because we are part of the Lord, no, we have so much of affection for the Lord. The Lord is the dearmost object because we are part of the Lord, like that. So the living entities are eternally parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. The living entity is called Atma and the Lord is called Paramatma. The living entity is called Brahman and the Lord is called Parabrahman, or the Parameshwara, Ishwaraha, Paramaha Krishnaha. So the conditioned souls who do not have self-realization accept the material body as the dearmost, like that Prahlad Maharaj says, right? So he says that Nate vidu swartha gatim hi Vishnu durasaya e bahirartha manina. So like not understanding that real swartha gati is Vishnu, and like out of bad intelligence, a person thinks that bahirartha manina. So this bahirartha, this body is external to us, and we think that this is very, very important. To protect the body is very important. But the Supreme Lord as Paramatma is more internal to us, and to develop attachment towards him is actual self-interest, actual swartha. Okay, so the idea of the dearmost is then spread all over the body, both concentrated and extended. The attachment of one's body and its extensions like children and relatives is actually developed on the basis of the real living entity. As soon as the real living entity is out of the body, even the body of the most dear son is no longer attractive. Therefore, the living spark or eternal part of the Supreme is the real basis of affection and not the body. So it's a very, very nice argument that Srila Prabhupada gives here. So we have affection for our relatives. So if we have so much affection for their relatives, even if they pass away, we should continue our affection to that body. But no, we don't have no affection at all. So we just take the body and burn it immediately. So that means I am not attracted to that body. I was only attracted to the spirit soul that was there within, right? So, and why the spirit soul is very attractive? Because the spirit soul is part and parcel of the Lord. That is why he is attractive. So ultimately, the Lord is the one who is very much attractive, and we should just be attached to the Supreme Lord only, right? So because the living entities are also parts of the whole living entity, that supreme living entity is the factual basis of affection for all. One who has forgotten the basic principle of his love for everything has only flickering love because he is in Maya. So the more one is affected by the principle of Maya, the more he is detached from the basic principle of love. So if we, this goes to say, if we really have to love somebody, then we have to love the Supreme Lord, and we have to love that person as part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Then that love is like really love. Otherwise, it is going to be a temporary love. It is going to just fail at certain point in time, right? So that is the this one, because the Lord is the real person, whom we are connected to. And if we are connected to any other living entity, because they are also connected to the Lord, so then then that platform of affection is like permanent. Otherwise, it's going to be temporary. Okay, one cannot factually love anything unless if he is fully developed in loving service of the Lord. This is very powerful statement. Prabhupada often used to criticize this United Nations and things like that and all. So you don't give any regard to the Supreme Lord. What United Nations you are going to make? You want to love all the people of the world. You want to serve all the people of the world. How will you serve? Because you are not serving the Supreme Lord. If you don't have the pivot, so then there is the connection with individual entities of this world is not permanent. So this is a very, very emphatic statement. Let's read this again. One cannot factually love anything. So unless he is fully developed in loving, in the loving service of the Lord. So it's a very important point that Prabhupada is making. One cannot factually love anything unless he is fully developed in loving service of the Lord. So if we have to love anybody, first we have to love the Supreme Lord, and then we have to love that other person as a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. So then it is on the real platform of love. Otherwise, it's not. It's going to be a flickering, affection that comes and it just flies off also after some time. Okay, in the present verse, stress is given to focusing love upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The word kuryat is significant here. This means one must have it. It is just to stress that we must have more and more attachment to the principle of love. The influence of Maya is experienced by the part and parcel of the spiritual entity, but it cannot influence the super soul, the Paramatma. So this is, I think I shared this point, and I I felt this point like very very important, and I repeated in this sessions also, afternoon sessions also, quite a number of times. So one person asked that, if I eat onion and garlic, will Krishna not love me? So here it's very nicely mentioned. No, it is the Maya is only like on us. It is not going to cover the Paramatma. No, so Paramatma is never going to be there in the Maya. That means Paramatma is always loving us and always liking us. So what is the problem then? I am not able to love the Supreme Lord. That is the problem. And when I take these foodstuffs which are there in mode of ignorance, like onion and garlic and many other things which are prohibited. So then what happens is due to our increase in ignorance, we will not be able to perceive the Supreme Lord, and we will not be able to love the Supreme Lord. No, it is the problem for us. It is not the problem for the Lord. If I do something wrong, no, will the Lord hate me? Will the Lord not like me? No, the Lord is always liking me. Even if I become a demon, the Lord is coming with me as Paramatma. So then, no, He has so much of affection for me, but it is only me who is not able to develop that affection and attraction towards the Supreme Lord. So that's the problem. Okay. So the Mayavadi philosophers, accepting the influence of Maya on the living entity, want to become one with the Paramatma. But because they have no actual love for Paramatma, they remain ever entrapped by the influence of Maya and are unable to approach the vicinity of Paramatma. This inability is due to their lack of affection for the Paramatma. So this very, very clearly mentions the Mayavadis, they want to merge in the existence of Paramatma, and it is mentioned they cannot even reach the vicinity, of the Paramatma. So, but then, what is the secret of approaching the Paramatma, getting closer to Paramatma? By affection, by love and affection towards the Supreme Lord, we will be able to conquer the Supreme Lord. Not by forcibly trying to get closer to Supreme Lord. It is not possible. We will definitely fail in that endeavor. No, we cannot just try to get closer to the Supreme Lord by force. No, like as the Mayavadis are trying to do. They want to merge in the existence of the Lord, and they cannot even approach the Lord. Okay. This inability is due to their lack of affection for the Paramatma. A rich miser does not know how to utilize his wealth, and therefore, in spite of being very rich, his miserly behavior keeps him everlastingly a poor man. So it's a very nice analogy. A rich miser means conjuice. He may have so much of wealth, but because of his miserly behavior, he will never be able to enjoy his own property. So in essence, he lives a life of a poor man only. He doesn't know how to enjoy his life, right? In the same way, this one, a Mayavadi who's trying to approach the Lord is like a rich miser. He doesn't know how to actually access the Lord, how to actually have that wonderful association with the Lord. Okay. On the other hand, a person who knows how to utilize the wealth can quickly become a rich man, even with a small credit balance. The eyes and the sun are very intimately related, because without sunlight the eyes are unable to see, but the other parts of the body, being attached to the sun as a source of warmth, take more advantage of the sun than do the eyes. Without possessing affection for the sun, the eyes cannot bear the rays of the sun, or in other words, such eyes have no capacity to understand the utility of sun's rays. Similarly, the emphiric philosophers, despite their theoretical knowledge of Brahman, cannot utilize the mercy of the Supreme Brahman because they lack affection. So this is also very nice. This one, the eyes, sun, and the bodily parts, is mentioned. The bodily parts, they are able to get the warmth of the sun. They know what is the benefit of exposure to the sun, right? So vitamin D, like we need to have exposure of sun. But then the eyes, like even if the eyes want to get the glimpse of the sun, the sun is very bright, the eyes is not able to see. So in the same way, here it is compared to the people, the Mayavadis or the empiric philosophers. So they theoretically, they try to get the knowledge of Brahman, but they cannot utilize the mercy of the Lord. So but then the devotees of the Lord, no, they can actually get the mercy of the Lord because they have affection towards the Lord. Okay, just like the bodily parts, they get the sun rays and then they get the vitamin D. But sun, no, it cannot see the sun. Like sorry, eyes, it cannot see the sun. So like in that way, the Brahman, the people who know the Brahman knowledge, the Mayavadis, so they cannot like attain the Supreme Lord. No, it is not possible, or they cannot get the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Okay. No, the main point that is again and again mentioned is the affection towards the Supreme Lord. That's a very important quality if we want to attract the Lord. So many impersonal philosophers remain everlastingly under the influence of Maya because although they indulge in theoretical knowledge of Brahman, they do not develop affection for Brahman, nor do they have any scope for development of affection because of their defective method. A devotee of the sun god, even though devoid of eyesight, can see the sun god as he is even from this planet, whereas one who is not a devotee of the sun god cannot even bear the glaring sunlight. Similarly, by devotional service, even though one is not on the level of a jnani, means like developed knowledge, one can see the personality of Godhead within himself due to his development of pure love. So, like how to perceive the Lord or Spirit, when we develop in knowledge, when we become a jnani, so we will have clear distinction between what is matter and what is spirit. And if we develop pure love for God, we will definitely able to see the Lord also directly. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santa sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti. So this is topmost of all the knowledge. Like the jnanis can get only knowledge saying that, okay, this is matter, this is spirit. But a devotee can get knowledge, oh, this is spirit is not all the same. There is one supreme spirit who is the supreme Lord, and he is so wonderful. So that is possible in the Bhakti Yoga. And it is mentioned, what is that? Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Nanam Cha Yadahaitukam. So when I perform devotional service to the Lord, knowledge automatically arises in the heart. The vice versa is not true. If I cultivate knowledge, will I be able to get devotion to the Lord? Not necessarily. But if I cultivate devotion, will I be able to get knowledge? Yes, definitely. We will be able to get. What is the pramana? Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayati. When I do Bhakti Yoga, Janayati, what takes birth? Janayati asu Vairagyam, detachment from the world, and Jnanam, the knowledge. So these two things are just a byproduct of Bhakti. It automatically happens. Okay, text 43. Sarva Vedamaye Nedam Atmatman Atmatmatma Atma Natma Yoninam Praja Shruja Yatha Purvam Yascha Mai Anusherate. By following my instructions, you can now generate the living entities as before by dint of your complete Vedic wisdom and the body you have directly received from me, the supreme cause of everything. So here, the Lord is finally giving his this one blessings upon Brahma, saying that by following my instructions, you will be able to like create the living entities, generate the living entities again in this material world, right? And then like the Lord is telling, you've got some very special things. One is the instructions of the Lord is given to Brahma, and second is a body which is given personally by the Supreme Lord, which is very, very capable, very powerful body that he has received. So he will be able to do very amazing things through that. Okay, text 44. Maitreya uvacha tasma evam jagat srishte pradana purusheshwarah vyajyedam svena rupena kanjanabas tirodade. Okay. Translation: the sage Maitreya said, after instructing Brahma, the creator of the universe, to expand the primeval, to like after instructing Brahma, the creator of the universe, to expand the like primeval Lord, the personality of Godhead in his personal form as Narayana disappeared. Right. So basically, Narayana, he disappeared from the vision of Brahma after instructing him on how to expand the creation, right? So that's the instruction that Lord Brahma received, and after that blessings, Narayana is vanished now. Purport: before his activity in creating the universe, Brahma saw the Lord. That is the explanation of Chatushloki Bhagavatam. When the creation awaited Brahma's activity, Brahma saw the Lord, and therefore the Lord existed in his personal form before the creation. His eternal form is not created by the attempt of Brahma as imagined by less intelligent men. The personality of God had appeared as he is before Brahma, and he disappeared from him in the same form, which is not materially tinged. So, why it is not materially tinged? Because it is not a creation of Lord Brahma. No, before even Brahma started creating anything, he saw the form of the Lord. So then, how can this be a product of material nature? Because everything that is created in the material nature is primarily created by Lord Brahma. And here we see that before even Brahma started creating, there was this personality who gave darshan to Lord Brahma also, and who blessed Lord Brahma for creation. So, thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the third canto, ninth chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Brahma's Prayers for Creative Energy. Jai. So, chapter 10, Divisions of Creation. So, first sloka, Vidura Uvacha Antarhite Bhagavati Brahma Loka Pitamaha Praja Sashrujhe Katida Daihikir Manasir Vibhu. Sri Vidura said, O great sage, please let me know how Brahma, the grandfather of the planetary inhabitants, created the bodies of living entities from his own body and mind after the disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's nice question that here Vidura is asking to Maitreya, so that please describe how the creation is going to take place. Lord has instructed, that is sure, but then how practically it happened, no, that is something here Vidura is asking. Text 2, Yachame Bhagavan Prishtas Tvayartha Bahuvittama Tan Vada Swanupur Vyena Chindina Sarva Samshayan. O greatly learned one, kindly eradicate all my doubts and let me know of all that I have inquired from you from the beginning to the end. Purport: Vidura asked all relevant questions of Maitreya because he knew well that Maitreya was the right person to reply to all the points of his inquiry. One must be confident about the qualification of his teacher. One should not approach a layman for replies to the specific spiritual inquiries. Such inquiries, when replied to with imaginative answers by the teacher, are a program for wasting time. So we have to, that's why it is mentioned, Bhagavad Gita as it is, or we are very determined to give the message of Krishna consciousness as it is. So how do we do that? Now we study the scriptures, and then we try not to alter the meaning or the purpose of the scriptures, and then present it as it is. So then, Krishna is mentioning that he's non-different from the spiritual scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And then when it is presented as it is, when Krishna is presented as it is, then it is very, very powerful. Okay, so we will kind of stop here and then continue tomorrow. So I have a little difficulty in the throat, so we will continue tomorrow. With from this point onwards. Hare Krishna. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।